It's time for the Flagler Radio Business Report, a 30-minute roundtable discussion with the local businesses. And now, your host, Kirk Keller.
Good morning and welcome to the Business Report. I'm your host, Kirk Keller. I've got two great guests in the house today. Smart Technologies of Florida, Robert Doucette, president, correct?
Yes.
And Tristan, the brains behind the operation, right?
That's correct.
All right. Tristan, let's start with you a little bit. First off, tell us what all you do behind the scenes, because we know what Robert does, but tell us what you do.
So I do a lot of the technical implementations on the backside. Long story short, without getting too into the weeds, my main focus is making sure things just work, whether it be anything from your email to your phone systems to all the security in the background, making sure you pass your cybersecurity, insurance, policy requirements, everything in between.
Perfect. And you guys have done a great job. Full disclosure, we are customer Smart Technologies here at the radio station. We started out with one copier and two copiers. I think we got three copiers now. But not too long ago, Bob, I think we reached out to you and said we were having some issues. You hooked us up with some smart copiers. Can you tell us about what a smart copier is?
Well, most people look at the copier as making copies. But what we look at is how do we capture information that's coming into the organization. So when we look at a smart copier, we're looking at how the technology integrates into the applications that you're using. If you think about capturing, it's the data that we're interested in. How do we use that data and move it through the organization to keep processes flowing?
And you did a great job for us, because I know it used to be you scanned a document, you could send it only to yourself. But now the copiers you've set us up with, you scan a document, and there's a board there of all the personnel within the building or outside the building. You just push a button, it goes directly to them.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some other features that you can do with a smart copier that's very important to a business these days?
Well, same buttons, but now we can identify processes. So, for instance, if it's an invoice, we could push a button and kick off the invoice process, which can map it to approval processes, can map it to workflows that are required before you pay.
Really? So one button, and it will go to the different departments that need to sign off on that invoice. So do you have to print out that invoice to sign off on it, or is there, in that email link, would there be a link that say approved, approved, approved?
Yes. Yeah.
That is super cool. I did not know you guys did that as well.
And that's where Tristan comes into play. And, for us to really automate processes, we have to integrate technology.
Right.
So what we run into a lot is, well, we needed this, so we went out and got this application. We installed it. It does a purpose. What happens is we start to add more different applications, but none of them integrate together. So now what we've done is we've created data here, and data here. So our first focus is to come in and do a health check, which Tristan does, and he identifies what's not connected, what's not integrated together.
Right.
Once we get that visibility, then we can start looking at a roadmap on what needs to be connected. Because what normally happens when you look at how a business process works, you have three components that are working. One, people. So in the good old days, people did everything. When technology came about, we started using technology to help facilitate what people were doing. And then we also look at all the devices. When we look at devices, we carry a computer in our hand everywhere we go. So how can we take all three and integrate them together so that we can start looking at how we leverage people through the human part, really decision-making pieces of the business process, and let the repetitive tasks be automated?
I think that's super cool. I just used my phone the other day. Someone sent me a text message, and in the old days, I'd take that text message and send it to my computer or email and then print it out. But with the technology we use with you, I can send it directly to the printer and print that sheet out. I love that. I think it's simple. So, a lot of people think technology replaces employees. It doesn't replace employees. It enhances the employees. Is that the best way to say that?
Yes. Yes. Definitely enhances.
So one thing I did learn here recently, because Bob, I relate you as the copier guy, but I found out you do more than copiers. So Tristan, I'll let you kind of go into what else you do.
So we kind of play into a bit of what Bob was talking about in the sense of we do a whole health check of the organization, but my focus is more on the devices and more of that technology environment. So one thing that we've noticed is in a lot of these environments that don't have IT is there's usually a computer guy. And, that works great for small businesses, but once you start getting up to a medium size or you start doing a lot of work, you really just need things to work. You cannot waste time messing with a computer that's just not doing what you need to do for half a day. You need good communication. You need, as Bob was talking about, you need your invoice processing flows. You need them to just flow. You can't, waste time working on who does this need to go to? What do we need to do with this? This one's a little bit different. This is from a new vendor. We're taking those processes that, could take, 30 minutes to a couple hours, in the case of setting up a computer or try to figure out a new invoice flow that, could take an hour. We're translating that down to minutes. So in the case of computers, we use a software from Microsoft. It's part of the Microsoft 365 suite. It's called Intune. And so what we can do with that is really automate your device deployment. We're doing this for a client next week. We got some computers from Lenovo. Long story short, we can take them straight to the customer's environment, and with Autopilot, we just plug them in, and they're going to automatically set themselves up for that company based on a configuration we made for them.
Really?
So they connect to the internet. They wait anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, and it's mostly dependent on the internet speed. And, soon enough, they'll be able to log in with their work email, their work password. It's going to log in. Another 5-10 minutes later, it's going to pull down all their applications. It's going to pull down all their files. And instead of wasting hours getting all the data from the old computer, transferring it over, installing new applications one by one, thinking about what do you need, log in, go grab a coffee.
Is that because it's stored in the cloud?
All stored in the cloud.
Fantastic.
What I like to tell people is we try to make the Apple equivalent of a Microsoft walled garden for business. We like to just make things work.
So like I said to Bob a while ago, it's not replacing employees, it's enhancing what the employees can do for you.
Correct.
Fantastic. Lisa just joined us. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. How are you, Kurt?
Fine. How are you? So we know about copiers. We just found out about your phone system. I did not know that you guys had more than copiers. I think Bob one day mentioned to David Ayers that, we have a new phone system we can install. We did some research on it. We had the new phone system installed. We love it. It works great. Absolutely great. What are some other systems that businesses could install today or tomorrow from Smart Technologies?
Well, one of the things that I help people with is what everybody's talking about, AI.
Yes.
AI.
Which can be scary.
It's a buzzword for a lot of people because people think it's unapproachable, it's untouchable, it's out there. But the thing is, it's everywhere.
When you're my age, you think Terminator. You know what I mean?
but it's everywhere, right?
Right.
So you either are afraid of it or you jump on the bandwagon and figure out how to use it.
So how can a small business here with maybe 5 employees use AI through Smart Technologies?
Well, through Smart Technologies, what we can do for them is to basically do an analysis of their specific company and what they do and help them design something that is specific for their roles, that for each individual in there, how they can apply AI to enhance their roles and save them time and money in their task.
Have you done one of those yet here in Flagler County?
We've worked with a couple of people, like a law firm, to show them, and they were blown away. But then they get so busy, they can't figure out how to stop and just do it.
Right.
And that's
so
what
it does take time to set up.
Yeah, they have to stop and say, hey, listen, we got to study this in order to implement it.
Mm-hmm. Bob, you're shaking your head over there. What's your opinion on AI in the community?
Well, AI is having a sidekick that knows everything. I
already have a wife. Go on.
Right. And that's exactly the thought process,
right.
Is that you have information in your hands. How we're leveraging it is, think of it in the sense of, I need to learn something.
Right.
So I go out and I look for somebody that may be an expert in it. And what you find is that person that is an expert wrote a book telling you all the ways how to do it. So what I'm doing, or what Smart Technologies is doing, is taking that information that's out there and using that book as a skill set that applies that knowledge to my role. So how do I implement? How do I create action? Because the time I'm done reading a book, I forget what chapter 1 was all about.
Right.
So implementation is really the key to this. When you learn something, is how do you put it to action? And what we're doing is we're leveraging all that knowledge out there and customizing it to the person that's in front of it. So if we're like, for instance, I was in a leads group and was sitting around and listening to the salespeople present their elevator or their value proposition. Mm-hmm. And they were all struggling because it was a new group. So I said, why don't I go and build a prompt that they can use with AI and help them build out their value proposition. So did a roughly 10-minute training, gave them the prompt, they applied it, and what I saw in the room was everybody getting up and giving their 45-second value proposition by looking at their phone, and they've gone through the exercise that was designed by the prompt, using it to create their value prop, which was 45 seconds that created more of a focus of what their value proposition really was.
So basically made their sales pitch sound more polished and more intelligent.
Exactly.
So once again, as I've been saying about smart technology, you're not replacing employees, you're enhancing your employees you have.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like sending, I used to work at this one company that would always want to send the staff to different classes. They always wanted you to learn. Basically, that's what Smart Technologies is you're setting up a program to where the employees can keep learning in-house while they're on the job.
Exactly. We're developing AI coaches for the individual.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to take a fast commercial break. When we come back, we're going to keep talking to Smart Technologies of Florida.
I am blown away.
More people are listening to local radio than ever before.
The amount of people that come up to me and ask me about my radio ad is staggering.
More people are listening to local radio in more ways than ever before.
At least one a day. I mean it.
More people, more advertising results. To advertise on the radio, call Flagler Broadcasting Vice President of Sales, Kirk Keller.
Kirk Keller? Hey, that's me. 386-986-9911.
flaglerbroadcasting.com.
Good morning and welcome back to the Business Report. I'm your host, Kirk Keller. In the studios this morning are the folks from Smart Technologies of Florida, Robert Doucette. Good morning again.
Good
and
morning,
Tristan
everybody.
from the IT department. And Lisa, I didn't get your title.
Digital Information Manager.
Oh, wow. That's a big title. That means you're the brains, right?
I hope so.
So our main focus today has been about how Smart Technologies is not getting rid of employees. They're enhancing the employees that you already have and how you can make your employees even better, which I think is great. Absolutely great. A lot of people are scared of the digital age, as they called it. As you brought up, Lisa, AI. I know most of my customers are very scared of AI. When AI first came out for radio stations, half my staff that writes and produces the commercials were freaked out because they thought AI was going to take their place of writing and producing commercials. So far, that's not been true. I've got one young man that uses AI to write the basics of the commercials, but he goes in and he puts the emotion of the commercials that we need. Because as everybody knows, radio is all about emotions, and we try to sell emotions, and AI cannot do that. So just wanted to tell you my impression of AI. We embrace it here at the radio station. We've used it for a lot. AI has helped us polish our headlines for our social media postings. So that's what we've been using AI for. But you guys do more than that. You do copiers. We found out you do phone systems. What else do you have there at Smart Technologies, Bob?
We managed IT. That's the core of it is coming in and looking at, again, all your applications. Is it secure? Mm-hmm. We're shocked on some of the things we see out there. We start our conversations with the dark web, and I'll let Tristan talk a little bit more about that. A dark web scan, which is interesting on how much information we pull and show how there's been compromises within your network.
Really? So I didn't know you do that. So it's something new I just learned. So dark web scan. Dark web is where the hackers like to go. Is that correct?
Yeah. There's a lot of mystery behind the word a dark web, but the simplest way to think about it is it's really just kind of think of it more so like a black market in this case. When we do a dark web scan, what we're doing is we're looking mainly for credentials that are associated with a business. So every business these days is going to have a domain of some sort. So ours is smarttechfl.com. Mm-hmm. What we're doing in the dark web report in this case would be we're looking on the web, on the dark web, for any credentials associated that may have been leaked with smarttechfl.com, and that can come through any means by phishing sites or fake websites, people that are inadvertently putting their credentials into the web. They're getting taken and then they're getting sold. The other way is, you've got these famous hacks that happen every once in a while. Credentials can get leaked that way, but that is what we're doing is part of our managed IT program is we're paying attention to those leaks. We're always scouring the web for those credentials and keeping an eye out and, seeing if anything tips us off to any sort of potential breach. And if so, we're alerting the user and saying, hey, change this password just as a precaution to make sure that something doesing happen.
So if somebody leaks something about Flagler Broadcasting, what could that do to us at Flagler Broadcasting?
It really depends on the credential. So if it's a credential to log into an account that you guys use on a day-to-day operation, depending on what that account is, how business critical that is, mm-hmm. that could be a world of damage. Or it could be something as light as an annoyance, but, you never really want to take that chance.
How important is it to do that? And I'm going to go back to, I think 2 years ago when the school accidentally paid over $500,000 to somebody that was supposed to go to somebody else. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story or not. Could that have been prevented with the dark web scan?
Potentially. It depends how that came in. So we have another program called Avanon, which is what we do with email scanning. So I guess my first question would be, how did that invoice come in? If it came in via email,
it did, from what I understand.
So we got, versus bouncing back to AI, we're using AI for scanning email, and we're using it to process each and every email that comes in to look for tactics that are used by people that are trying to phish.
Does that slow down my email delivery?
It does.
Okay,
but it's worth it.
Right.
So it does two things. A, it's going to get rid of all the spam and marketing stuff out of your inbox. And I know everybody's really happy about that, seeing just a clean inbox of what they
I'd sign up for that today.
Yeah. So it really, the main, it's two parts. Keeps you secure and really focuses your inbox. Your inbox is nice and clean. You know what you need to deal with. That second part is it is going to slow down your email delivery, but only by about 10 to 30 seconds, depending on the email. It's going to scan any attachments. It's going to look for malware. It's going to look for any sort of viruses or anything malicious, and then it's also going to look at check any of the links. It's going to actually open each and every single link and see what that goes to. Is it a legitimate site? It's going to check it out and make sure it's real. And then it's also going to look for context clues in the verbiage of the email. Does this seem peculiar? It's also going to look at other email security stuff like, hey, is this a new domain that was just made in the last 60 days? Have we communicated with this person before? Has anybody in the company communicated with this domain before? I.e., is this a first-time sender? It's looking at all of this and basically putting together a number, and based on that number, it's saying, we're going to quarantine this email or we're going to send it through.
That's fascinating. I had no idea you guys did that.
Yeah. All in 30 seconds.
So is that a program you load on a computer, or is that all, once again, done from the cloud?
All from the cloud.
All right. So how many companies have signed up for that so far?
All of them. All of them we do managed IT for.
Oh, fantastic.
We give them a trial for 2 weeks, and they get a taste of it, and nobody wants to go back.
So let's talk about managing IT for a company. Mostly our friend here, Mark, our operations manager, manages our IT. Is that wise for us to have an in-house IT department managing all that, or should we reach out to Smart Technologies and say, hey, Tristan, we need help?
It depends on the situation. So I like to see it as we've got two types of IT people. We've got, people that are tech savvy, and then we've got people in the environment and keeping operations running smoothly. Mm-hmm. And it just depends on what your needs are. And it's very dependent on that. So some people, some smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses where we focus, they see the value in IT, but they don't want to pay to have 1 or 2 or 3 IT staff, on payroll. So they're like, well, let's outsource this because we are going to be cheaper than having 2 or 3 IT staff on payroll.
Right.
But if you have depending on your business, if you've got a really complex operation and you need IT staff on site, taking care of this core operation and making sure they're running smoothly, we can come in and assist in those situations. We can, make sure the general environment's being taken care of, make sure the device is being taken care of, take care of help desk, so we can assist in those situations as well.
So when you say on-site, does that mean Smart Technologies comes to the building every so often, or do you do it all remotely?
We do it all remotely, but we'll come on-site when needed. We try to avoid it when we can, and the key part of that is if everything's working, we don't need to come on-site.
Right.
And
we're more proactive than reactive.
Perfect.
So when something comes up, we're already on it, usually before the company even knows.
I will testify to that. You guys are. These new copiers you've got us. I love them. If there's a jam, I don't have to yell down the hall, someone call Bob. It automatically calls you from the copier. If there's a jam, if it's low on toner, which I think we have our sets about 10% out, it automatically orders our product, our toners that we need. We just recently had an issue with one of the copiers over there that probably gets abused the most in the sales department, and it just stopped. And I was getting ready to. I think I sent you and I can't remember what Marion, an email, and Marsha, she already wrote back. We already got a notice. I absolutely love that because it was already done, and because that's one of the biggest problems I always had with copiers, because they do jam a lot. Mm-hmm. But I love it when they report on themselves that, hey, I've got a jam, I need a technician. And you guys usually show up that day.
Yeah, and that's how it should be.
Right.
One of the big things that a lot of people don't realize is that the copier is a good gateway into the network.
I was going to bring that up with Tristan because I hear stories all the time that you should not connect your copier, you should not connect your printer, you should not connect your coffee machine to the internet because that gives them access to the system. So, Tristan, I'll let you address that.
To a certain degree. So, ideally, with any of these IoT devices, you do want to have them on a managed network. And what I mean by that is, you're going to have security protocols in place so that these copiers can't do any real damage. So in a situation, let's take a small business example. You got 2 desktop users, you got a server, and you got a copier. Ideally, you never want that copier to be able to talk to that server in any manner. You want to keep those separated. So what we can see with the copier, it actually gives us a lot of clues. If we've got people, if we have sold just a copier and they're calling in every couple of weeks saying they can't print, and it's because the IP address has changed or the Wi-Fi's changed or something, it's like, well, we know that's an unmanaged environment. So we know there's an opportunity there to, get them sorted and make their experience better.
Well, I'm so glad I had you guys on the show today. I think I learned a lot. I think we taught a lot of our listeners some safety precautions, which is basically what we all need to do on a regular basis. 25 years in business, is that correct?
Yep.
Congratulations. Proud of you, Bob.
Yeah.
Lisa, how do we get in touch with you if we want to have our system looked at or buy a system?
Well, I think there's something very important that needs to be said, though. Why should a person use branded toner? For security reasons. I learned that recently.
Really? So the toner you buy is
matters.
Relevant? Okay.
It matters for security reasons.
Tristan, you'll be the last one.
Say it quickly.
I honestly don't know this one.
Well, seriously?
Oh, really?
It's because there's a chip inside there that comes from the manufacturer that helps with security and with updating your firmware. I learned this recently.
Wow. So if there's a chip in there that's got some mumbo jumbo black web stuff on it, it can actually send information to, or give them access to
hack your system.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. All right, exactly. Lisa, we need a phone number to call.
386-252-2292.
That sounds familiar.
from the commercial.
That's right. All right. Smart Technologies, thank you very much. 25 years in business. Congratulations. That's the Business Report. We'll see you next Saturday.